Welcome to the Seize Your Business podcast and video blog. My name is Kevin O'Flaherty from O'Flaherty Law. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Jim Waszak, a man of many talents who does many things.
Thank you, Kevin. That's very nice of you to say.
I want you to say what you're doing.
Primary focus now is protecting families from the financial impact of cancer. Most people don't realize that even with good health insurance, the bills are more than health insurance will cover. So we offer supplemental benefits to help people through that. And with the neat feature that if you never have to use our coverage, we give you all your money back.
All right. And our guest today is Rebecca Wright from Wright Sourcing Solutions. And our topic today is going to be the logistics of getting a new business set up. So Rebecca just went through that process not too long ago. So she's going to tell us about her experience and the hoops she had to jump through to get started. So Rebecca, thanks for being here today.
Welcome, Rebecca.
Thank you.
Yes.
So tell us about Wright Sourcing Solutions first. What do you do, and how can you help people?
Before you do that, I want to ask you a question.
Okay.
You're calling it Wright Sourcing Solutions. Is that because your name is Wright, or because you didn't want to be called Wrong Sourcing Solutions?
No, it's primarily because my name is Wright.
Okay. All right, got it.
And I hope we're never wrong.
Oh, and I should mention, this is Tom Weiler, our videographer, pointed out this is our 100th episode.
100th episode.
Yeah,
100.
so thank you for being here for a special episode.
Yes.
So tell us.
Go ahead. Tell us
what you do.
So, Wright Sourcing Solutions. So, like I explained earlier, we do a lot of the background HR work. So, a lot of the reference calls. We'll do social media reviews because sometimes people post things on Facebook that maybe an employer doesn't necessarily want one of their employees to have. We do background checks and credit checks. We do. Trying to think what else we do. I mentioned the reference calls and license and verification.
So if I give you somebody's name, you'll check them out and make sure that they're not going to be a crummy employee for me. Is that basically what it comes down to? When you're doing the reference calls, it seems kind of it's a good service because I, as an employer, almost never make reference checks because it's like a pain in the butt, and I'm usually understaffed at the time, needing to hire somebody. What kind of report do you give back to the employer when you make a reference call? So
I have a list of my basic questions. Was this person, did they dress well? How is their behavior on a scale of 1 to 5? And then I also ask the employer, is there anything that you want to know specifically about this person? Do you want me to double check the dates that they worked with this company? Is there any specific behavior that you want or don't want, or any specific skills that you want or don't want? So I have my basic questions, and then I also ask the employer anything specific that you want or need.
A lot of employers today have the policy that if somebody calls for a reference, all they'll verify is the dates of employment because they don't want liability. Do you have a way to delve deeper and kind of get around that? How would you?
A lot of employers, they have. If you call their business, they'll get you over usually to another business, which is kind of nice. I'll jump through the hoops for everybody. They have another line that you can call to verify employment with them, and they'll give you a bit more detailed information. So.
Okay.
Is that like a bigger employer thing? Because I know when someone calls me for a reference on one of my old employees, if they were a great employee, I'll talk to them all day and help that employee get a new job. If they were a mediocre employee, that's when I'll give I usually won't say anything terrible, but
it is primarily for bigger businesses, just because they need that extra help. That I've seen that have it. I haven't seen a whole lot of small businesses that have it.
Okay.
That extra phone number.
So I'm talking about the stonewalling. When you call an employer and they won't give you anything but dates of employment, is that something you see pretty commonly, or are most employers willing to talk and
I think most of them are willing to talk.
Okay.
I mean, I have run into a few employers where I'm asking them questions, and they're kind of they're obviously not impressed with the person that I'm asking them about, so they'll kind of just rush through it. But overall, I think they'll talk and they'll.
Do you kind of take that as almost the equivalent of a negative reference?
I do, and I kind of let the person I'm doing the research for, I just kind of say, hey, just so you know, the conversation was a little awkward. It was kind of slow. Just keep this in consideration. I just want to be fair with you so that you know. So
what got you into this business in the first place?
I'm a girl, and I'm just naturally nosy. So
okay. Glad to hear one of you admit it. That's good.
Well, I worked in the legal department at Credit Union 1. I was the bankruptcy coordinator. So I kind of got up to dabble in people's again, I'll just be honest, I got to be nosy in people's backgrounds and credit checks and just researching them. And I enjoyed it. So I did a little bit of HR work for a few months, and I really enjoyed the reference calls, and just decided to go out on my own because I kind of thought I could do it better.
Okay.
So and you did that pretty recently. You started, how long ago did you get this all rolling?
I finally got everything up and live 2 months ago because I researched it for 3 or 4 years. I read articles on accounting, on marketing. I read a lot of other articles on people who set out on their own, and they were very honest articles about the pros and the cons. I read Google reviews from other companies just to see what people are looking for as far as customer service. And so 2 months ago, I finally decided, okay, I'm ready, I'm up for this challenge, and I set out to do it.
So tell us as much as you can, and I'm going to try not to make this a deposition where I cross-examine you, but as much as you can in chronological order, all the steps you had to take. Because I remember setting up my business 6 years ago, but a lot of the logistics are hazy. It's been a long time that I've been in business, and I remember it was a lot of stuff to do, but I don't remember everything I did, and not from a legal perspective, but from I had to read a book on this and learn how to use QuickBooks. So what did you do to get started?
So the great thing about today is we have all the social media,
Okay.
and you can just Google and YouTube anything. So that made it a bit easier. Trying to think a bit more specific on the logistics.
Well, what was the first thing you said? All right, I want to start a business.
Order?
So you did your research, right?
And then I started putting things down on paper. I drew out what I want the website to look like. As silly as that sounds, but I needed to get some.
People recommend doing that for websites.
I had to give myself a vision, and I had to see it. I guess it's just a bit more of a visual learner. And then I started to play around with different websites that offer you free website service, and from there. So
the website was your first.
I actually started a blog for my first, just to kind of play with it a little bit. Honestly, It was a fashion blog. It turned out terrible, but that's okay because I learned a lot. And actually, I transferred it to a second website, which again also turned out terrible. But I learned a bit more complicated features and how to put things together. So on this third website, the Wright Sourcing Solutions.com, it actually looks a lot more professional, and I was able to get a better picture of what I want to.
So you're doing your own website?
Yes.
I do my own website too. What content management system do you use, or what service?
I'm using WordPress.
That's the way to go. I use Weebly, and it's a lot easier and prettier and more user friendly. But all the experts will recommend WordPress. What was that?
I wasn't a fan of Weebly.
Yeah.
That was my second one.
I wouldn't necessarily recommend Weebly to people, but I kind of got stuck in it, and so you started basically getting the website up and going.
Yeah,
right?
and that was honestly probably the most challenging thing because I'm not really techie. But it's up, it's running, and I'm really excited about it. I think the next thing I did was, and this was kind of like in the works all along in the background, but the next biggest focus was getting the books and the accounting part of it ready and learning how to use QuickBooks. And to be honest with you, it's all, again, I love social media. It's all a bunch of YouTube, Google, talking to other people who have done it.
Learn how to do just about everything.
Yeah, so that's currently what's going on right now in the background.
My advice for people who are starting, based on mistakes I made, is I did the same. Sounds a lot like what I did. Website first, got the postcard sent out to all my friends, basically my wedding list to tell people that I was starting a business, and then it was figuring out the books. And I just thought, what, I went to grad school. I can figure out how to use QuickBooks on my own. And I mean, that was before there wasn't as much easily accessible on the internet back then, but. I just read a QuickBooks for Dummies book to try to figure it out. But I spent more man hours and more of my office manager's time and my time correcting the mistakes I made, thinking I was doing it right the whole time, than, if I had just hired somebody at the outset, like, to be a QuickBooks trainer just to teach me, $200, $300. Here's how you got to. Usually, most accountants will have a bookkeeper that they can have help you. So. Not saying that you should do that, but for our listeners, it would have saved me a lot of time and money if I had just had someone help me get it set up.
Well, that's really like a strategic decision I think anybody has to make starting up a business. How much are you going to do yourself, and how much should you outsource? Outsourcing it makes it easier for you to focus on the meat of it, but if you don't have a lot of money, you have to kind of do.
I think it's really smart not to outsource your website control, because that's your face to the world, and you can control your message really well that way. And no matter who you hire to do your web design or your search engine optimization, they're never going to create content like you can create content, to personalize your website like you can personalize your website. So one of the best things that's helped my business is taking charge of my own search engine optimization, my own website, blogging, podcasting. So I think you made the right move doing that. That's not a lot of people do that. A lot of people just pay somebody to set up a website and they'll never be found on the internet, or they'll pay $3,000 a month for an SEO expert, and they'll always be paying that $3,000 a month, and when they stop, their SEO goes away. So
with Google Plus, it's so easy too, so it's kind of nice.
Yeah. So I assume you're pretty active on social media then for your business?
Yes. So Twitter, Google Plus, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Right
Nothing
now.
on YouTube?
Not yet. I don't know how I feel about YouTube yet.
Well, you'll have something for YouTube when we're done here. We'll give you the video.
You'll have your first one.
That'd be nice.
So what else did you have to get set up for your business? I assume you went to the bank, maybe incorporated.
Not quite yet. That's next on the list. A lot of this is coming out of not a lot of this. All of this is coming out of my own pocket. So the bank is actually the next step. We'll take it from there.
So how do people approach the decision? Should they be a sole proprietor for a while? Should they be a LLC, a Sal Bass? What's kind of your advice to people?
Well, if you have the money and it's not kind of a hobby business, I recommend incorporating as quickly as possible, because you're going to have a corporate bank account, and you'll have all your electronic records from that corporate bank account that you can download into your QuickBooks, and your corporate books are going to be different than your personal books. I just, quick digression, liability protection is one concern, but if you're self-employed, you pay self-employment tax, and you save money on self-employment tax. You have to pay less of it if you're incorporated, which is kind of silly, but we've done an episode on that already. But if you're going to incorporate, if it's going to ultimately make sense, I know it's not cheap, but the sooner the better on that, because then you can get the bank account open once you have the corporation. You're protected from liability on any contracts you sign, any actions you take, but most importantly, you've got clean books from the beginning, and you just download everything into your bank account. So usually what I tell people who aren't sure, kind of in your position, you probably don't have a ton of liability. Jim, you're a popular guy.
Turn their phone off.
The podcast
what a knucklehead.
Podcast marketing is working.
I guess so, see?
So,
call now, but not right now.
so for people who don't really care so much about liability, what I say is talk to your accountant, find out whether your tax savings from self-employment tax will pay for the incorporation costs. Because if you're making enough money, there's a threshold. If you make a certain amount of money, you're going to be saving more in taxes on self-employment tax than the cost to set up the corporation. And the other thing I tell people is right off the bat, the stuff we talked about is really important. Figure out how to do your books, get your website up and running, find a way for people to find you. But establish a relationship with experts, and this is pretty self-serving, but it's true. Get a relationship with an attorney right off the bat, get an accountant, get an insurance person, make sure that you've got all the insurance gaps covered, and pretty soon get a financial advisor to help you manage your and your business's money and come up with a plan. So I'm not trying to talk down to you and give you advice. This is just mostly for the listeners to kind of fill in some gaps.
If anybody is looking for a good attorney, give me a call. And I know this guy Kevin, he's okay, for startups.
Yeah, so and that's really one of my friends who's a business owner once told me it's not really all that complicated. You just need more money coming in than you have going out. And once you have your basic system set up, there's always more you can do. There's always more complicated ways to grow your business, and more, once you get employees and independent contractors, things definitely get more complex. But at first it's just, getting your head wrapped around your expenses. What sort of expenses are you dealing with?
Right now, a lot of it's marketing expenses, and like I said, a lot of it's kind of coming out of my pocket since not a whole lot's coming in right now. That's probably the biggest one right now.
What are you doing other than your website to get people to call you?
Like I said, we have the website. I do have business cards. I'm still toying with the idea of pamphlets because I've heard good and bad things about them. So we'll see. And a lot of it's just right now word of mouth.
Have you been going to a lot of events? Like
that
networking
is next on my
type
list.
events?
That's
okay.
That's coming up next. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, your website's probably not going to register in Google for a while. Maybe you did it just great, but it took me like 2 or 3 years before I was on the first page of Google, if not longer than that. But the way I got my business at first, it was all going to network, joining the chamber, joining the Rotary Club, going to all the town networking events you can find, and Grove Fest. We're in Downers Grove. There's a festival in every town over the summer. Get a booth, give out your brochures, get some marketing materials together, because that's, as a business owner, very little of your job is probably going to ultimately be the work of the business, calling up, and doing the background checks. Probably pretty soon, if you're successful, you'll hire somebody else to do that.
That'd be great.
Your job is always going to be to make sure that there's business coming in the door, and finding creative ways to do that. And it's there's a life cycle to that. It's at first it's all networking, and you network until people can find you on the internet or find you through automatic stuff. But blogging and working on your website early is a great way to accelerate that.
A good place to look to find events is Meetup.com.
Yeah.
And that lists all kind of groups that are meeting, and some are business, some are not, but you can kind of pick and choose which ones are convenient to you. So that's another good place to look.
So any other hard lessons you've learned in the first 2 months that
Hard lessons?
You probably won't learn what mistakes you've made for another year or two?
Yeah.
Probably. This probably seems so just juvenile. I think one of the hardest things I had to get through was just more of a mental thing. Thinking you can't do something just because you don't have, a lot of money or the experience or a degree in accounting. I know it's only been 2 months, but I'm really proud of how far it's been. The fact that I got a website up on my own is really encouraging. But that was probably the biggest thing that I had to get through my mind was just, just because you don't have something doesn't mean you can't do anything.
Right.
So.
Well, and I think starting at as young an age as you are is a plus, because you're going to be learning immensely, way more than people who are, just take sort of a corporate job, and it'll serve you well down the road, whether it's this business or something else. But you'll be learning all the time.
And that's the only skill you really need as a business owner, is the ability to learn other skills. If you can, if you can do that, and you build the confidence that I went to law school, but I've also learned how to produce audio and video on podcasts until Tom came along, and now he does that for me. I've learned how to build bars and carpentry for our business lounges. I've learned all about networking, learned all about internet marketing. You have to learn so many different things, and once you've mastered one thing, then you think, hey, how can I learn the next big thing to even accelerate things further? So and that's all you need. The ability to learn.
Another thought that I would highly recommend is if you could get like maybe 2 or 3 people who would serve as like a board of advisors or mentors, because they can really help you, not only in terms of giving advice, but once they're sort of committed to helping you, they'll be spreading the word as well. So that's something else that would probably be a good idea to think about.
Yes, I agree.
So if people want to reach you, how can they reach you?
You can call my office number. It's really easy, 630-803-0803.
Wow.
We also have the website now, like I said earlier, WrightSourcingSolutions.com. It's Wright with a W. So, and they can send me an email at contact@WrightSourcingSolutions.com.
Okay,
Jim, how
super.
can people reach you?
630-272-3895. Call anytime, preferably not when I'm in the middle of a podcast. Kevin, how about you?
Yeah, so we offer free consultations in almost every area of law. We do just about everything. You can call us at 630-324-6666. That's 630-324-6666 for a free consultation. Go to seizeyourbusiness.com to watch now 100 episodes of our podcast, and you can listen to them too. And it's kind of fitting that in the 100th episode we go back to fundamentals and
exactly.
the very beginning.
Exactly.
Sunrise, sunset, I guess. You can also go to learn-about-law.com, where we've got articles and videos and podcasts about every area of law, and makingrealestatefun.com, our real estate podcast and video blog. I want to thank Tom Weiler from Weiler Studios for doing our video for us. He does a great job. You can hire him by going to weilerstudios.com, and that's Weiler with a Y. And thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening.
Rebecca.